Hey.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the No Borders Homesteaders podcast. I am here with Remy from Rem's Family Farm and Mylin from Little Homestead by the Beach. And I, as always, am Tracy from T-Ham 141 Homestead, the one, the only, thank God, or so says my mom. Two of me just wouldn't be good.
I'm sure she was right.
I am dying to get these. Tonight we're gonna be talking about transferring plants to the garden and finally being able to get outside. Because this is scheduled to come out on May 11th, so it'll be right in time. I think Zone 5 is where I'm at. And my last frost date is usually around May 15th.
Oh, lucky.
So, yeah. Well, I haven't planted a single seed this year. Because
You didn't begin?
no, I haven't started yet. What was it? 2 years ago, I started March 1st. I started planting, and all my tomato plants and everything were all stringy, and it just was way too long. So then the next year, last year, I started April 1st, and same thing. So I am waiting till I'm thinking the middle of April to start everything inside. I'm getting ready. I want it like my squash plants. I want to start getting them planted inside. I'm gonna be transferring some of my outdoor garden into raised beds.
Okay.
Well, when I say raised beds, I'm just talking like a 2x8 on the ground.
It's raised bed.
Yeah.
It's raised.
And hopefully, because I've got pig manure that's been sitting there for 2 years ready to go, and that should have some
Power.
really good. Yeah. But yeah, it's killing me because I got these chicks in here. You can see I got the light on them.
Yeah, we can hear them a bit.
I got a grow light on them. I'm trying to encourage him to develop more feathers faster. So I put a grow light on him when it starts getting dark. It's not working yet, but they've got to go outside. I mean, I'll be trying to watch TV, and I have tinnitus from years of loud noises, whether it be pew pews or the Bradley. When I drove the Bradley, I had a right next to my seat, I had the engine, and it was loud. So I have horrible tinnitus. So when there's background music or background noise, I can't hear. And these chicks are starting to make noise. They're starting to jump up and hit the screens a lot.
Aww.
It's getting warmer. They'll be able to go outside soon.
Yeah. Well, even because it's in the auxiliary pen. I don't know. I got it's a 12 by 20 building, and I've got the regular chicken coop, which is about 6 foot by 12, and then I have I want to say it's about 6 foot by I'm gonna say 12. Wait, it's 4 foot by 12 is normal size, but it's a lot bigger coop. I want to get some bales of straw and get put in there so that we can I'll stack them and make them kind of like a little cubby. So if it gets cold, they can all crowd in there and stay warm. But so have you guys been planting so far?
Well, we are recording this kind of mid-April, so I sold about 2/3 of what I have to sow.
Oh wow.
Hey,
Yeah,
knucklehead.
missing the tomatoes and the sunflowers and the pumpkins, like the squash.
Come here.
No,
Squash, I usually plant them straight outside.
no, not me.
I've had success with them. Pumpkins, though, like these are different. I'll be planting them maybe like a month before I take them outside.
Oh,
Cute.
that's a
Now I
cute
want
plant.
one. Buff Orpington, right?
Okay.
It's not doing green feathers. Your land does not work.
Where'd you go? I got another
Where'd you go? Running your magic out.
Let him worry about the chicks. Yeah. For me, I planted my peppers, onions. Although I usually purchase like the bulbs, onion bulbs,
Yeah, okay.
because otherwise it won't. Like I always try to grow my own onions, regardless.
Mhm.
Have a few ones that I can say that, hey, look, I was able to grow these, but I don't have enough space at the moment. Like once the kids are older and have the house, maybe in 40 years from now, I'll be able to take one room and turn it into a grow room.
Yeah.
Um, but until then, I just do a little bit just to have my hands on it, practice, make sure I know what's going on, how it works, um, just to prove myself. I guess I can do it. So I just buy the onion bulbs when it comes to uh, grow my
Hmm.
actual onion harvest. I planted tomatoes, a few tomatoes, just before just before I sat down here.
Okay.
When you asked me if I was coming to the podcast, that's what I was doing. I have some asparagus planted.
Okay.
Those it's fun because I can plant them pretty much whenever I want
Hmm.
and transplant them whenever I want.
Yes.
And if I do 5, 6 per year, just keep it going. Eventually, I'll have a bunch of them growing all over the place.
Yeah.
I planted. I have a few peppers um, in the soil also. A few echinacea, but the echinaceas for some reason, I started them in those little peat moss
Hmm.
pucks,
Yeah.
but they they sprouted, and then like as soon as you transplant them, they just stop.
They didn't like it, or they're not dead. They're just not growing.
Maybe some of them died. It seems like
Okay.
they were lacking nutrients,
Hmm.
and as soon as I transplanted them, it seems like it was too late. I don't know.
Okay.
But
I
what I'm gonna do is simply put a bunch of seeds in my garden bed at some point in the spring and keep the ones that keep growing.
Well, I
yeah.
remember I bought echinacea plants a few years ago, and they were very small plants. They were started from seeds, and they were small. And I planted them outside, and they stayed small pretty much all summer long. And I was
Okay.
like, will they survive? And next spring they came back, and it took 2 years, but
Okay.
they flowered last year, and
Okay.
they were like 3, 4 feet long flower hemp, and yeah, they are
Nice.
yeah,
doing
I
great now.
tried I tried planting them from seed and had no luck. Tried planting them indoors, no luck. I ended up I was at Walmart one day and they have the root you can buy like several roots and I bought them and I planted them in the garden and last year they were 3 or 4 feet tall.
Nice.
Blossom beautiful. I didn't harvest any of them. I should have. I meant to, but it's one of those things that I always do. I meant
You,
to. I wanted to.
you forget about them. Well, we have so many things going on. Like
Oh,
we have the animals like chickens, rabbits. Tracy, you got the pigs. I usually have turkeys, and then like if you're like me, you want to do everything there is to do in the summer. You want to enjoy the summer. Like I
Yeah.
want to go fishing and go for a hike in the woods or go foraging or anything like that. But I have to remember that I have like 6 gardens here. I have the
mhm.
community garden, and I have a bunch of perennials all over the place. So at some point, you have to let some go and just
Yeah.
Yeah, like last
perennial.
year I wanted to plant a rabbit garden, and I was in my head like, okay, every day when I will be back from work, I will cut some leaves and do a salad for all the rabbits, and it didn't happen. I mean,
Oh,
I'm coming from home. I'm tired. Mosquitoes are buzzing all the way. Like, ah, okay, get the kale leaves with okay. There you go. And but I didn't have my little basket with my little cutting and no.
you
I
didn't
would
do
dream
the
about
cute
it,
little
but
walk there.
not. Yeah. Little hat and all happy singing. And no,
I'm
nothing.
a little
Just
berry picker. I pick berries. Uh, yeah,
Well,
it does get hard. Well, that's why Mary Lynn just mentioned today's the 9th of April, and this video is going to come out in May.
mhm.
This podcast, and it's because we're trying to get as many ahead, because once it kicks in, I mean, the reason it's three of us tonight is because so many of us are tired,
Yes.
because it's starting to kick in. We're starting to prep beds. We're starting to see outside and say, hey, I can get outside and play in the dirt now. And
Yes.
by by time the evening comes, it's like,
did you notice though? Like who's here? We ain't gonna plant anything outside for another 2 months. Well,
Yeah.
other than you, but
Still have snow on my line, like
yeah, there's still a good
nothing.
foot of snow here.
I have one pile of snow behind the woodshed that came off the roof of the woodshed, and it's always in shade, and that's the only snow I have left. Um, but see, I figured since you guys were so close to uh, the ocean and the St. Lawrence, that you guys would have a milder.
No, it takes longer.
Hmm,
Yeah, it's quite the
The
opposite actually.
the water stay cold longer in the spring, so temperature is low in the spring, but in the fall my season is longer because the water heated during the summer. But
yeah,
yeah, right now I'm still has almost a foot of snow
If
all
not more.
around,
yeah.
and
It,
normally all the snow is gone mid-May, not before.
yeah,
Early May here.
yeah. That's my last frost date is
Frost
mid.
date it's mid-June.
Oh wow,
Early June for me. So Tracy, you're 2 weeks ahead of me, and I'm 2 weeks ahead of Marilyn.
Yay.
wow. Yeah. Speaking of Bridget and Darren had a baby. Um,
Yeah.
it it was, what would you say, 75, 80 pounds?
I don't
They're,
know how
they're,
much that.
Yeah, could be more. I don't know.
one of their
Yeah,
Highland cows had a baby. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
that's
Freya.
always exciting.
the miracle cow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's special the way it happened because well, he has a video on it, so it's I don't think it bothers much if we talk about it. But
Yeah, no
he was
problem.
asking if we thought he should get rid of that
Hmm.
cow, like trade her or put her in the freezer, or because he has a plan. Well, he had a plan on a 5-year span where he would have so many cows, with having so many babies at certain point in the timeline, and if you got more, it'd be better. But he was hoping to have a minimum,
Mhm.
and if that cow didn't produce any babies, well, she was useless to what he wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, and they
And as
try
soon as
for
he
two
started
years
talking
to
about
produce
maybe,
one.
yeah, and he started talking about maybe getting rid of the cow, and like 2 weeks later, he comes to us and he's like, "Oh, she's pregnant," and then boom, baby, like 2 weeks ago, like two
Yeah,
weeks later. I mean, like
She,
it was
she
also
heard him
fast.
talking.
Yep, she got
She
scared to
heard
go
him
in.
talking and said, "Get over here, Mister Bull." Uh, but yeah, and that's another thing. Spring is wonder. I have the chicks. I'm gonna have to at some point uh cull my flock, cut my flock down because I've got older chickens that just aren't laying. That's why I got these 20. But man, I hate the thought of it because I throw like pizza crust and
hmm
popcorn seeds and stuff out to them, and they all have their own personalities and stuff. And it's like,
Well,
man,
if you can still have them and feed them, why call? Why
well,
remove them? They're still doing manure and
yeah, they're still making manure.
cleaning your property.
And in the summer, it won't be so bad because I will
Mm-hmm.
have, they're free range, so it'll cut down on the feed a lot. But in the winter, it's just too expensive. Which maybe I'll wait till this fall to cull them. Um, but yeah, I've got three full size roosters,
Yeah.
and then I've got like two or three silky roosters and two or three bantam roosters. Uh, and the bantam hens and the silky hens they're new, they're young. They
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to lay now. Um, and spring brings all of this stuff up. Uh, prepping garden beds and baby animals and you're getting a count. They are just so rude. I hope I got them all back in. And I'll be sleeping and hear the cats running through the house chasing one. The cats are surprisingly good with these, though. Um, they haven't bothered at all.
They probably learned that it's better to let them go.
Well, yeah, we used
Well,
to when we first got the cats and moved in the house. Uh, yes, I have animals and chickens in my house, but we had to teach them. You don't mess with mom. Wendy was right on top of it. You don't mess with mommy's chicks. Um,
well, it seems like the animals understand those kind of things.
yeah,
I have a weasel in my chicken coop. I've seen him.
Mhm.
He keeps going after the mice. Doesn't bother
really.
with the chickens at all. So far, so good. It's getting
That's
rid
good.
of a problem.
Yeah. Um, I know I've got chicken because I haven't collected eggs because you look and there's no eggs, and then a day late, the next day you look and you're like, did I miss that one yesterday? How long has that egg been sitting there? Because they don't lay just in the nesting boxes, and uh, I've got a chicken that's eating eggs,
Oh
Mm.
no.
which it's my fault for leaving the eggs so long. Uh,
Yeah, but if they hide them, it's hard to know sometimes.
yeah, yeah. I just
I have
when I
one
was
eating once in a while, one egg, but I don't know
It's
which one.
usually because they lack calcium if they do it.
yeah. Well, I've got
Yeah,
two
they got a
bins,
calcium.
two 6 inch by 6 inch bins full of oyster shell for them at any time. But uh, yeah, when I was cleaning out the sawdust and putting new bedding down, I was really praying, oh Lord, don't let me break any of these that are nasty, because that's a horrible smell.
Yes.
Uh, Comment below if you've ever broken a rotten egg.
Eh,
Not yet.
it will happen. It will happen, and you'll remember.
Oh
You'll
yeah.
remember.
Last week I dropped one fish. It didn't last long. They jump on it and
Oh yeah.
ate it all.
Yeah.
But I don't
Whenever
have
they
any
see
roosters,
food.
so.
Oh yes. The brown butt nuggets.
But
Um.
for the plants.
Yep.
Last weekend, I did my first day camp for them. I brought them in the greenhouse, from the house to the greenhouse, and they came back in the house in the evening. It went well. They liked it.
Yeah,
But
that's
now
what
I
they
dream
told
of a heated greenhouse, so I put them there and they stay there. But whew, the cost.
Yeah. I need to get another greenhouse at some point. Like,
Yeah, you had trouble with yours a few times.
Yeah.
yeah.
More than once, right? If I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, I tried to build one out of an old frame and clear plastic. And I had it all cinched down and everything. The wind caught it. I didn't anchor it to the ground. The wind caught
Mhm.
it. It's still laying like 10 feet from where I set it up. But it's upside down. And then I bought, I think I spent like $250 on a nice, I think it was 12 by 17-foot round top greenhouse. And in the summer, I took the cover off it and I put the deer netting to keep
Mhm.
birds and stuff out. And I walked by it one day and I'm like, well, I need to get the snow off it because we got a snowstorm. And I said, I need to get the snow off that. And when I walked back out the next morning to do it, it had
Or already
collapsed
too late.
Mm.
because the plastic, it's like a fitted plastic, and it actually helps the structure stay intact.
I have one too behind the house, and I I put the plastic down for the winter, but now I kind of regret it because I wish I could have it right now. It'd
You could
be
use it.
well, maybe not start putting plants in, but I could definitely start like taking care of my soil and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think I can do is the wind is coming from down the hill, which is north, and
Okay.
the sun is coming from south. So
Oh.
I can solidify the side where the wind is the strongest
Mhm.
and hopefully leave it a little bit more open to the south facing part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that way it should be strong enough to hold the wind and still be open enough to allow the sun to come in full speed, full strength.
Yeah. The for the wind, you what you have to do is really block your north face. Don't have any hole or things that the wind could catch up and blow the top of your greenhouse.
Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe like putting a wall, like using pallets,
Mm-hmm.
build like a wall in front of my greenhouse, have something strong enough, and that if I put the wall this way and the greenhouse is here,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
have like something anchored to the ground behind it so that if the wind's trying to push on it, it will keep it down there.
So it kind of just breaks the wind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
protect the greenhouse a little bit. I will still need to figure it out because if I do that and I put it too close to the greenhouse, then I can't go and shovel the snow if there's a lot of snow. So it's
Right.
either I put it straight on it or I put it like 2 feet behind to try to stop the wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll see. I still have time anyway.
Yeah. I've got a hemlock that's down from the windstorms.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to just go start collecting blowdowns because we have had some horrible wind this year. Um, but so I'm hoping to get some squash and cucumbers planted inside. And then I'm not going to worry about moving them outside for a while. I think I'm going to try to do it in the red solo cups
Okay.
so
Yeah,
that
those were great.
yeah, because I don't want to have to upplant them so many
Yeah.
times because that's a pain.
But
Uh,
depending on what kind of squash you have, you might not need to plant them early in the house.
yeah,
All the summer squash should have time to grow. Like you plant 10 seeds and you'll have like 50 squash.
yeah. Um, I
Zucchini
definitely
and
want spaghetti squash. I love spaghetti squash.
Yeah, those you have to start them early.
Mm,
Um,
I beg to differ. I plant them, last frost date. They take a good 75 days, 80 days to grow.
yeah.
I never started them early.
And then I'll have this better soil that I'll be using from the where I scraped off from the pig pen a couple years ago, and so hopefully I'll have some really healthy plants and some really healthy veggies come out of that. Um, and I think we had a piglet die. I think I buried that in there too. Should be gone by now, right?
Last year?
No, 2 years ago.
Oh,
2 years
yeah.
ago.
You might find some bones, but even
Long,
bones.
long as it don't stink or
No,
No,
no.
not.
2 years, it'll be gone.
Yeah, you will find the bones because we put the rabbit bones in the compost
Mhm.
and we found them a few years later again. So for a pig, I imagine they will still have some.
Yeah. Well, I figure the nutrients from the decomposing
Animal, yeah.
body will leach into that.
Yeah, of
I
course.
hope that would be
Um,
nice.
don't remember his name. Mike, maybe. He's from Australia. He's the first YouTuber I ever found. His
Okay.
channel's called Self Sufficient Me,
Yep.
and
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
got a bunch of raised beds. And
Mm-hmm.
he keeps saying whenever he finds a dead animal, whether it's a mouse or a rabbit or a possum or anything he can find, if it's dead, he buries it and is going straight in his garden because it
Well,
will decompose.
it's a lot faster in his climate than ours.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, yeah, because you have we have what 8 to 10 months of winter of
yeah, about
colder
that.
climate and depending on where he is in Australia, because you get down south in Australia and it can still get cold there. I'm not
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, of course.
Yep.
but um,
But the summer are very hot.
yeah, yeah. Um, but my let's see, what else was I wanting to plant early? I haven't really looked through a lot of my seeds yet because I'm trying to resist that urge
You
to go
must
and
resist.
now when this airs, then
Should be
hopefully
done.
I will be getting ready to transplant all of my garden from inside to outside, but I got to get rid of the chicks that are absorbing the grow light.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I don't think it's helping them grow, but it's worth it.
As long as they're warm, really.
Oh yeah, it's. I kept them in a regular clear tote by the
Mhm.
wood stove when I first got them, and then I moved them over to the or then I moved them into the container they're in now, which is an old water trough, a composite water trough that we used to use as a shower basin, and then they started getting feathers fairly decent, so I moved them over to the other side of the living room. Wendy would be so tickled of chickens in the living room. Uh, but, but yeah, so what are you guys looking forward to planting this year? The
A bunch of
most.
perennials.
Yeah,
A
Bunch
bunch of
perennial.
perennials. I want to take this year a little bit more relaxed, and by planting perennials, it will allow me a little bit to take a deep breath. Just going to put it this way. Like I still have to plant like tomatoes and squash and all that kind of stuff, but if I don't go all out trying to grow as much as possible this year, and I just grow like what I know we're going to eat,
mm-hmm.
and not waste. Um, like last year, I had so many squash, so many zucchinis that I ended up like meeting people at the grocery store on my way back home from the community garden, and I was just giving them away.
Yeah.
Like imagine, like I was in a competition where I had to grow tons of food, and I was coming home not empty-handed, but with like 50, 60 pounds less because I was giving it away. I was calling people, hey, like, you want squash? You want zucchinis? Yeah, I'll take one or two. No, like, you don't understand. Like, I have 7 full bags full. They're full. Like, take something, please. Take something.
My
Um,
kids are starting to turn into zucchinis. They're eating so much of it.
so, yeah, I will be growing less of those. Um, beans, I'm going to go with less because, same last year, I ended up not having time to harvest them all. I had to tell a few people, like, go in one of those 2 aisles. They're full of beans. Go and get whatever you can get because I'm going to lose them. And I ended up losing some
Yeah.
just because I didn't have time to harvest them all. It's one thing to harvest them, but then you get home, you need a place to put them until you have time to can them or freeze them or blanch them or whatever. Um, I want to go with about the same amount of tomatoes, same amount of onions. I don't think I'll be doing potatoes this year because from the conversations we've had earlier, my girlfriend and I, potatoes are quite cheap still.
Mm-hmm.
And I can take half my garden to grow potatoes and I'll have 2 weeks worth of potatoes.
Yeah.
So it's pointless. So I just want to focus on the rest.
Now watch. He'll decide. You decided not to grow potatoes this year, and about mid-August, you're gonna say, "Oh, the blight struck the potato market today, so it's
No, no, no,
$5
no,
a
no.
pound."
Positive, positive. It won't happen.
No, no, and
But
that's smart to figure out. Okay, what do I want to plant? What do I need to plant? And going to more perennial vegetables and fruits, it just makes sense. It really does.
yeah, I want to get more beets. That's one thing I want to have more because last year I had a lot of beets that were eaten by mice. So I ended up not having much. So that's something that's probably going to get planted at the community garden as well. I'm hoping that by doing some small garden beds instead of just in ground gardening, um, I'll be able to grow a little bit more and save more. Um, I'll have more time. Well, not necessarily more time, but the thing is, the way my garden was done, the weeds were growing in the middle of it. So I would like there was no way that I could really stop the weeds from growing because it was growing
Mhm.
from the middle.
Yeah.
So I would have to go in the middle and just dig everything up. And by the time I realized that it was a bunch of weeds growing, I mean, there was nothing else growing. So I
Hmm.
decided to just let it go, let it die, and focus on the sides. And of course, if you have weeds coming from all ends, eventually it's going to take over. So it was a big struggle for me to stay on top of things. By doing the garden beds, I'm hoping that if something happens, that the weeds take over one or two beds, it's easier to sacrifice those beds with a silage tarp or anything that will stop the weeds from growing and start over if I have time. And if I don't have
Mm.
time, just sacrifice two, three little pieces for next year. Radishes don't take a long time. Lettuce, spinach, kale, things like that, they don't take a long time to grow. Radish, you can have radishes in 30 days. So if at some point, even at the mid August, I realize that it's full of weeds, and I just want to sacrifice it, I can just remove everything from there, um, and just start over with radishes. They'll grow. So that's my goal for this year. It's not necessarily in terms of what I want to grow, but I want to go a little bit more um,
Relax.
divided like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good plan.
Yeah.
For
I'm
me,
I'm hoping. Go ahead.
I figured out last weekend that I was checking my plants and my seedlings that I have right now, and man, they are all for the chickens and the rabbits. I have onions, peppers, and basil for me right now, and the rest is for rabbits and chickens. I mean, what did I done? And my shelves are full. I don't have space for anything else, and well, it's not food.
Yeah. I have got to go through, um, and hopefully by time this airs, I will have gone through and I have got Wendy and I our last harvest of our last good harvest. We got yellow squash, crookneck squash, and we medallioned them up and canned them all. I don't eat a lot of squash because I don't cook a lot of squash. I'm not big on cooking squash, and but she would cook it, and oh, I love it. But if I have to cook it, it's one of the things of there's got to be something quicker. So I've got to go through because I know 2020, 2019, those lids are going to start failing. I was
Yeah.
sitting in the living room the other day and I heard a lid pop. And I'm
Ah,
like, oh no, what in the world could that be? I don't,
which
there's,
one?
yeah. And, uh, but it's exciting, this feeling of, okay, I can get out there right now and play in the garden. I've been resisting it because once I start playing, I'm going to want to start planting.
Mhm.
And, uh, but I can, if I so choose, get out there now because um it's warm. I mean, today the high today was 81. Is that right? Yeah, it got up to 81 degrees Fahrenheit here. Hey Google, what is 81 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius?
81 degrees Fahrenheit is equal to 27.222 degrees Celsius.
Okay,
So it
right.
got it got warm here. Um and that's got the little solar powered fan on it, so it's not supposed to just bake in the sun. It's supposed to be an accurate temperature. Um, but I'm ready. I'm ready to get out there and start working on it. I'm gonna have to get Trevor or Matt to let me borrow their truck or borrow them and their trucks to get some lumber to build my raised beds, and then it's just a matter of moving the filler in the
Mm.
soil that I got.
Hmm.
Uh,
I can't wait.
It's so much fun, right? Some
it is.
people are like, why don't you just go to the store? Or what's so fun about gardening? I was in my bedroom the other day watching a TV show, laying in my bed. I had my bag of soil, pro mix soil, and I had my hand in it, just playing with the soil. Watching TV. I'm like, man, that feels good. Like it's so relaxing for real. Like it's funny,
Yeah,
but it's
Grounding in a bag of soil.
so
yeah.
relaxing.
There is something to the whole grounding thing. I mean, there are magnetic forces and all these things that we don't quite understand. But the vegetables, buy a tomato and then harvest one of your tomatoes, cut the same size slice, and bite each one of them.
Mm, it's not the
And
same.
the
I
store
don't want.
bought will not, it just won't taste the same. It won't
No.
have that burst that you get from a good tomato when you bite into it. I can eat my tomatoes like apples, you know.
Mm,
I do sometimes. My
yeah, my
green
daughter
peppers
does
too.
too.
Yeah. My green peppers, my beans, there's a flavor to it because the nutrients are there. It hasn't been messed with in any way. It hasn't been bleached or sprayed for our health, and it's young. When I can my green beans, if I go get a can of green beans right now, that is the nutrients are set in that from the time that I canned it, and that flavor is in there.
Yeah, it
You
stays in
just
the water.
Yeah, you just can't compare store-bought food to what you can grow yourself.
No, and
Um,
that's the thing. Like,
is
see,
that a
long
long
keeper.
keeper?
That's a long keeper.
You still
Oh,
have some?
Oh yeah.
All the ones I had, if I had any, because I messed up when I identified them in my garden. But if I had some, they're in the freezer right now or in spaghetti sauce, salsa somewhere.
They do
mine
begin to
made it to December.
germinate inside. I
Hmm.
have
Mine made
some
it to
spots I can
December.
see, but
I
they taste wonderful.
Yeah, I hit this phase of the toast with mayonnaise and um, tomato sandwiches, and so I went through my tomatoes really quick. So they were long keepers, but they didn't keep long. But it wasn't their fault. Uh, and
So it's been 43 minutes.
yep.
Yeah, we can switch to Patreon at any point.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Just
right.
saying, no, we're saying that for the viewers. If they want to know the big secret of gardening, you have to
What
come.
we do.
Yes. Yes. Remy is going to give us the secret to gardening and having all the food all the time on the Patreon channel. No Borders Homesteaders and Long Keepers, more Long Keepers. Let's see here. I got to change the brand to. We'll see y'all there.